All right. Great. Good morning again. As Michael said, I'm Owen, head of software at IEEE. 20 years is a long time. I don't think it's that long. Or but like this. Let's pretend it actually starts with when I was in year one. So let's pretend it's all that's part of the 20 years. You know what I mean? Which actually means you could do the same thing. Now you might be like, no, that's cheating because you didn't actually do anything meaningful in here when you were still a scrub, you couldn't write code to save your life. That may have been true in first semester. But from second semester, I had a really nice opportunity to work. Anybody here from back then? I don't know any of our lecturers here from 2000 something, 2002 or something. Because then they introduced something called campus pipeline. This is a bit of trivia, it's irrelevant to anything except it was one of the first student portals, like online portals. You could go online and it was like a kind of a Facebook before Facebook, and it was like social and you could interact with lecturers and all very wonderful. Irrelevant, except they needed to move student data from one format to the pipeline format. So in year one, with barely any knowledge except for Java and how to convert one string to the other, which was the bulk of our assignments at the time. Take a string, flip it around, give me a new string. Which to all of us in the room was like, this is garbage, this is never going to be useful. It was literally useful the next semester when I took some document that were in, let's say, plain text format and they needed to be in XML. And the key thing from an experience perspective is they paid me the princely sum of $15 an hour to do that. So I was like gainfully employed as a student assistant from as early as year one, I think, doing cool stuff. Now I think pipeline has gone away of all things, it's no longer here. But the experience can start from as early as year one. Yes? Just to understand the room, I know I don't have much time now. I don't have much time. Alright, cool. But just to understand the room, where are we? Let's start with the years. Are we all year ones? What are we here? Year ones? Let me see the year ones in the room. Alright, good. None of them, fair for them, they're not useful to us at all. How about year twos? Alright, good. I see the bulk of us are year twos. How many year threes?
3 plus.
3 plus? 3 plus, the year 4 and 5 and postgrad. Any postgrads? There you go. There you go. Good to see you. Good to see you. They are the ones who shepherd the rest of us, right? They'll guide us into the ways of truth and common sense. We hope. We hope. Nevertheless, that's good. That means all of us, we've already gotten our hands dirty. We've written code before. Yeah? Now, I have a tight presentation, so it's not going to be very long. I'm going to focus on resilience as expressed inside of concerns around cybersecurity. But I am the head of software development. So again, before I go on, thematic areas in the room. When I was here, there was communications. Is that still a thing?
Yes.
And one of my lecturers was Dr. Malalu.
She retired this week.
She retired this week, so I am here to carry the torch. No, that's not true. That's not true. But she was certainly very impactful to me because at one point I fancied myself becoming an electrical engineer. For like all of 2 semesters, it was not a good idea at all. I ran back to computer science. However, she was one of my lecturers and I loved it. So I did comms with her. There's also power. I heard previous lecturers talking about power, so that's still a thing. And what else is there? Computer systems, electronics, and controls. Okay, so who's in the room with us? Is it only computer systems people? Alright, nice. So who's here? Let's do the roll call.
They don't know yet.
Oh, nice. We have alright, well, let's go with ideas. Let's go with ideas. Who's here for power? Nuclear power included. Wow, you can't say that. You're brave. I love it. I love it. Who's here for comms? Wow. Noted. Thank you, Michael. Who's here for, what's the other thing? Controls. Controls is where the money is. That's where the industry is, right? Yeah? You're looking to get a nice little, yeah, for sure, right? Okay, cool. What else is there? Computer systems. I like you're all lying to yourself. To be clear, all of your computer systems. How can I say that with such confidence as a computer scientist? Because the last question somebody asked was about smart, the second last was about smart grids, right? Can you have a smart grid without computers? Is that possible? I mean, maybe if you were to do the things just right and your Nyquist and baseband, no, that doesn't make any sense, but Dr. Mal will be proud I know those two.
No, they'll learn it in like 2 weeks in my class.
Very good. Hey, very good. Hey! You look very familiar. That is cool. Jams. Very nice. Very cool. Tell you, school jam was a thing I used to run a few years ago, so happy to see graduates, whatever they are doing. But they weren't graduating, but they participated, right? So we have computer systems. What did I miss? Electronics. Any electronics in the room? All right. Okay. Some representation. What did I miss? Anything else? All right. Cool. But I really wanted to get all of you to agree that all of you are doing computers in some way. Isn't it now that software is mandatory? Is it? You must do software in some way. You must do programming in some way. Yeah. Yes, this semester. How is it going? It's going. It's lovely, isn't it? Isn't it like super easy now? You just take your whole assignment, you drop it in ChatGPT and it's done, and the weekend is yours. Yeah, because you know that is the path to dumbness, right? Because ChatGPT could lie. You'd be like, yo, this works. And you'd be like, yes, it works. And then the lecturer's like, what is this garbage? And they ask you one question, how long do you spend on it? What, 10 minutes? And start over. But good. Hey, how are you doing? So we're all doing some programming, which means a lot of this will be relevant in some way, even if it's not industrially relevant to you. Make sense? Alright, so let's move this here a little bit. Let's destroy it.
It's a loose-ish cable.
It'll be fine. Will it be okay? Will it come back? It's trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so I made one quick change for my font a little while ago. So if everything is thrown off, because I built this like with code. Because why wouldn't I? I mean, there is a thing called PowerPoint, and yet here we are. So if it doesn't work, you'll blame me, right? So I'm going to start with, when Mike reached out, he said, yo, come talk about cybersecurity. I was like, but Mike, I'm not a cybersecurity professional. He's like, yeah, still try. In his way, he's a very cool guy, so he didn't say it so forcefully. But I picked up on the fact that we need to talk about cybersecurity, so here we are. So I'm going to start with a definition, and it's a simple one. It goes into much more detail, but it's a nice starting place, right? The ability to defend, to protect or defend the use of cyberspace. I mean, any of you have used that term before? Cyberspace? Like it looks antiquated to me, but just think of digital spaces, yes? Digital space could be completely local, it could be a device, it could be a watch, it could be anywhere that has software running, right? So protect that from cyber attacks. Now, when you go actually study cybersecurity, you will find that it's much more than about what software engineers care about and what software developers care about, right? But who am I? I'm the head of software. So what do I care about? Software. So I'm talking to you from that perspective, but it's beyond that. It's broader than that, yes? And so for us, I see kind of breaking down into two things. Understanding what's at the perimeter of your solutions, typically outside of your full awareness, and your own professional discipline. Yes? Simple, boring, but actually super important. And it's part of what makes the work so useful and, as it turns out, resilient. So what do I mean by that? Normally when we're thinking about software and cybersecurity, we kind of start with quality assurance and testing, right? Meaning, ideally, your first consideration for cybersecurity shouldn't be when you're done building whatever you're building. Now that's ideal. And you might say, well, how could that happen? Now if you've just started making software, maybe your first foray into software is just how to get the thing to work. You went past hello world, right? And now you're just trying to get control loops to work. Why is it not ending? What is this while? And it never done, or it's not even compiling, right? You're not even going to compile. And so you're in this place of the code not working, so you don't really care about securing the thing because the thing doesn't exist yet. Now unfortunately that Lego block idea of all I care that is to get the thing to work often means you're not going to consider making it safe. I just want it to work. And so what I'm here to kind of wave a flag for is that's good, that's important. You have to be competent as a developer, you have to make something work. But it's not ready for anybody else until you had some conversation around protecting it, making it stable, making it secure. Yes? Now cybersecurity, for me for a long time, actually meant protect it, make it secure, make it safe for people to use. But there is a component of security that has reliability built into it. You know, it's like, can I stand on this platform because it's built properly? It's different to, can someone invade me and take this platform? But they both have security considerations. Does that make sense? So when I say, is it safe, it's not just, can someone compromise it? Is the thing working properly? Yes? Which is why, for me, cybersecurity starts with QA. It starts with, is the thing delivering what it's supposed to deliver properly? Yes? Then you also ask, if it's delivering it properly, can the proper thing be compromised by those who have malintent, bad actors, wicked people, smart men and women? And you have to say and women these days. Yes? So, that's where the discipline comes in, the rigor, and I'll talk about OWASP in a little bit. But also, just the world in which your software lives is what I'm calling a perimeter. Yeah? Meaning, I build an app to work on an iPhone, right? So, what changes are taking place in the iPhone? Did you guys see that notice recently about WhatsApp, maybe update WhatsApp on iPhone because it was compromised in terms of messaging? Like, people could send a bad message and it could cause your phone security to be compromised. So I built WhatsApp to work fine, it works great, messages exchange, but somebody has figured out on the iPhone how to compromise the environment, and therefore my perimeter is now in trouble. Now they did push out updates, so it's not like this thing remains like that, but even that pushing out of updates ties into some of our work. So though I have this deck, Michael did mention it, I work at IEEE, and that idea of pushing out updates is part of how we see our security posture continuing to evolve. And these are horrible kind of words, and to be fair, I mean, if you're find the right package to run your application. You don't want to hear about security posture evolving. It feels like it's two different things altogether, but they're all part of the same world, right? That language it's just how we talk in the office to mean you have plenty of updates coming to treat with the changes in the environment. Does that make sense? But you need to kind of get accustomed to that language. And it might mean that not just talking to your peers about getting hello world to work or getting the LED to turn on or finding the right voltage to not destroy your Raspberry Pi or your Arduino or your PLC board or whatever other small thing. Wow, like it looks, yeah, but like a few of the Raspberry Pi is not working anymore. Something smaller than that, like that you fried it for a couple of times. That's okay. We're here to learn, right? But after you get past frying it, it doesn't fry anymore. Make sure nobody else can fry it by changing the voltage configuration and therefore causing problems, right? So let's keep going. So what I'm going to talk about beyond perimeter and discipline, but I like this a lot. I like this discipline thing a lot. I like it a lot. Because when I was on a run this morning. I tried to do a long run on a Saturday. So I was on a run this morning. And sometimes I'm not comfortable with how we talk about cybersecurity. Because it has this kind of other kind of a feeling. Cybersecurity is somebody else's concern. Somebody else will think about this. But that idea of constancy of discipline, once you are doing any software development, once you are paying it, you are trying to become anywhere reasonable at software, you build a certain practice into your work just because software has so much failure in it. You know what I mean? Like, it just hit me this morning. Part of our stock in trade is learning just how to fail as an operational conditioner. Because if you think about it, if you're trying to get PLC to work, it's not gonna, most other disciplines, like you work out the equation, boom, bang, 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 and you get a result. And you learn the technique, and it produces results consistently. With software, sometimes because you are driving the creative output, you don't have a one technique to get there. So you're kind of failing until, you literally are failing until you get to the one success. And unfortunately, let's say it's an assignment. You fail for the week. And it's the worst kind of a thing because you have nothing to show except failure. It's not compiling, or it's compiling, then no compilation errors and nothing is working. for like the whole week, and then suddenly it works. And as soon as it works, what do? Wrap up, bow, send, you're done. So much of your life is treating with figuring out how not to let failure stop you from going forward. Which is actually a key part of discipline. If you think about it, a lot of discipline is work to failure and improve a little bit anywhere here. Make sense? So it grabbed me that we're going to talk about cybersecurity, and we'll talk about what exactly is OWASP and CI/CD. Do you guys know those terms at all? Not yet, right? Right, we'll just get brief definitions on them. What is that? Why is that important? And maybe not in this year for year twos, but certainly by the time you finish, you would hope that somebody has taught you about why those things make for solid industrial software solutions. I don't like that term industrial, it sounds too much like point pieces. But I think it's a word we all know. I'm trying to say professional. Like once it's, here's a simple metric for how you know it's professional. Somebody paid you to do it. Yes? So once you're building software that somebody's giving you money for, the discipline stuff becomes critical. And you might say, well, let me finish my degree first, then I'll care about discipline. But guess what? That'll be too late. Nobody's going to hire you to tell you that you should have some discipline. Make sense? And here's what they'll ask you. An experience? Remember what I did? Remember what I did in year one? Because in year one, somebody paid me to write software. What can I say at the end of year three? And to be honest, year four. Because I had to repeat my course several times. I had experience doing this stuff. Publishing to this mythical place called production. None of you heard that term before, it's fine. You will eventually. Yes? And I'm not to break production. And on the flip side, a lot of cybersecurity that you hear about deals with this. If you follow anybody on like LinkedIn, anybody here on LinkedIn right now? Like, are you guys on LinkedIn? Oh, wow! That's amazing. Great. So there are very cool cybersecurity professionals on LinkedIn who, now they're cool only because oftentimes they're sharing really horrible news. They're not like basketball or cool. They're like, that man knows stuff and it's frightening stuff cool, right? I'm thinking about like my own head of security, like IEEE Nigel Nualo, saying he's often sharing. Please be careful, this thing has happened. And if he's not sharing that, other guys who are on LinkedIn are saying, well, so and so just got breached. So cybersecurity often is about this. Hey, how you doing? But it's both of those things, right? So, some key things you want to mention. OWASP. Anybody did any web stuff yet? Any moonlighters at all? Anybody here doing a little code on the side for like the neighbor shop and that kind of thing? And you look like it, I saw it, you had to look, it called out to me, that man is right good with people in this payment. Yes. Once you've done any web applications at all, for someone who's paying you money, you should be familiar with that term, right? Open Worldwide Application Security Project. And in fact, more specifically, OWASP Top 10, right? We're not going to go into it in detail today, this is a short session. But it's one of those things you see me throwing out every now and again, right? Beyond that, this is like term super, because you have OWASP, you have SSDF, NIST. NIST is the National Institute of Science and Technology, not Trinidad's National Institute, that's the United States. But around the world, like they did a cool thing, they grabbed onto NIST. So now whenever you see NIST, it's them. And they produce a lot of standards. So that you mentioning, somebody mentioned PES standards a while ago in the previous thing. NIST does a lot of that for software and cybersecurity and AI and things like that. So it's kind of good to know. Well, you all might know TTC cert, I certainly did. But the cert part, the cybersecurity incident response team, that's one of those things that are becoming more and more prevalent and important at the government and national level. So countries may have certs, right? So Trinidad and Tobago has one, it's a TTC cert, but around the region you could look around, they may have different names, but they often try to work together to essentially protect because of cybersecurity incidents, right? So if a public body in particular has an issue, then let's say they've been compromised, they'll call TTC cert. If they're a little proactive, what they will do, I don't know if I mentioned it later on with our stuff. Before they launch new updates, they will invite TTC cert to perform an analysis on their solution. Right? So it's a combination of discipline and practice and awareness. Right? It's important that you can go beyond yourself to show validation that this thing actually works and it's safe. Right? So that's These are just terms. We're not even actually talking too much about it here. It's just things to be aware of when you see me in slides later on. And to be fair, I'm not going to go too long. This is a lot to kind of drop on you on a Saturday morning. But you guys, you'll figure it out together. Yes? Okay. Right. So I won't show the video, but I love it a lot. I love it a lot. I don't know why I love it so much. That guy is Joe Rogan, but it's not so much about, it was his podcast, it's not so much about him. He was referring to another guy, what do you call those kind of fighters? The guys who fight on the ground and get nasty and thing. What is it? MMA, yeah. And then the little ring and everything, and they're amazing. So one of the really world champion fighters is a guy named Habib Nurmagomedov. I can't pronounce his last name. But he was talking about discipline. I feel like I want to play it in a short. Can I play it? Will I get audio?
That's a question mark.
Alright, let's see if it doesn't work, we'll move on, but so we got. Yeah, he's not even doing what we want. Can it work? It won't work. That's okay. I'll send the links to you. But Habib, there it is, Habib Nurmagomedov, world champion UFC fighter, talking about discipline. And one thing I love is he kind of, when you hear me say discipline, it's in our national watchwords, same way you hear it like that. Or you're hearing your father. You know what I mean? You must be disciplined, and ignore it. It's more essential than that. Like, it's the thing that makes you continue doing what we're doing. Right? And doing it in a particular way. Like, you're all young, so that means you guys are probably still the more nighters. At my age, it's stuff that matters. Or you try it and you realize you can't work the next 2 days. So. But you guys have that energy. You don't quite have discipline yet. But that's the thing that saves you. And I lied to you guys, you guys are in university, you guys are in engineering, and you have discipline. But the kind, I like the looks of not really. Now either you are very talented, which I believe you are, but there's a healthy dose of, yo, I doing Laplace until I know what Laplace means, and, you know what I mean? I doing Fourier transforms until I am transformed, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So you have that. In the context of software, because software is so creative, because it's so creative, sometimes discipline takes a little backseat because you running through the forest. One time I was lost in the forest. I shouldn't have been lost, but I was, again, disciplined. I ran up a road I knew, and I saw a road I didn't know, and I thought, I could make it. It's only 2 kilometers. I spent 45 minutes in the bush because I didn't know where I was going. You know what I mean? Because I'm creative. I want to run through the forest and be like, yo, to my wife, I did it. I found this path, I made it through. I did say that with very scratchy legs because I was in a short pants. Discipline. Discipline says don't run through the forest if you don't know what you're doing. But unfortunately, because of what software is, it's a new field for you. It's not math. You know what I mean? It's not physics. You're doing physics by now in 5-6 years. You start software this year, and you're surprised you don't know nothing. You're sorry you don't know nothing. And it's a new language. Oh my God. But as it turns out, some of the things you're given to do, especially if you talk to your lecturers, I think some of you, this is slight off course, some of you be embarrassed to do this. I certainly was at one point. Which is reach out to your lecturers. Hey, I don't know what's going on here. Like, I don't understand this. And the lecturer's like, what did you try? Everything. What did you try to make sense? Nothing. You know what I mean? That kind of deliberate, start back, go back to the first lecture, go back to the first class, try this exactly as I've shown you. Get it to produce Hello World. Oh, I did. Get it to produce Hello World 2. Great. Now get it to take input that says something word. I can't, if not, we can read from the file system. Oh, hold on. Do you know how to read from the file system? No. Do you know what that is doing? It's converting bytes from one form to the other. You understand? Oh, I get it now. That kind of very granular, because your lecturer is going to come in class and show you a working application. This thing works. He made it work 5 years ago, and he didn't try it since then. It's working for him every year. And you have to figure it out. You know what I mean? So that's why I found it to be so profound, because the discipline you need in software development may mean you move more slowly than you would like to. Yeah? And certainly in business, that is something very frustrating. So, I mentioned this at the very top when I said all of you are doing software. All of you are doing software. One of the things I wanted to share. Anybody here familiar with Star Trek? I just want to make sure the room. Like I know some of you haven't seen Matrix, so I want to make sure I'm talking to people. Let me just check that here. Anybody here hasn't seen Matrix? You've never seen the movie Matrix? I was saying that by guess, and my heart has fallen to my feet to realize that there are people.
You asked them when they were born, and now kind of.
There you go. I'm not going to ask that. I'm not going to do
Came
it.
out in '99.
I'm not going to do it. But when I'm watching Star Trek, and my favorite one is Next Generation. Fire for the rest of you, or whatever you like. And in that one, it will start. Most of them start with a thing called Captain's Logs, right? So I wanted to do that in the slide. So we have this idea that software is eating everything. All of you will write software at some point, even if you don't want to, right? You write some kind of code, and the code will go into a place called production. Yes? You have to ship the features. We have to make sure it's trustworthy. So how do we do that for real in iGov on a day-to-day basis? So this is my team produces, we have teams who produce various reports for me on a weekly basis. So I'm pulling from some of those reports. This was in this year in June. Then come back to discipline. You see some fancy words up here. Telemetry, automated tests, pipelines. God, I realize I'm pitching above your level a little bit. I'm sorry. But let me break it right down, right? You get the application to work, yes? It is doing what you wanted it to do. It's been weeks, but finally it works, right? Now let's all go on a thought exercise. This application is for real. Let's say it's for TNTech, right? It is an application they want. It's for some industry. It's working. And you send it to this mythical place called production, right? They try to run it, and it's not working. What's the first thing they do? What's the first thing they do? Somebody said, come to you, right? They call you. To be clear, that's pretty horrible if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, right? So the first thing you want them to do is look at the logs. Right? What are logs? It's just these statements you printed about the application and its health, right? So literally you wrote this application and you said, oh, the application does what you want it to do. It's producing power at the right signals. It's producing the proper level of voltage. I don't know what that means. I've never done any of that stuff. For me, it's a web application that lets you log in and see reports or create reports. It's letting you convert satellite files from one format to the other, things I've actually done, right? But when it's not working, the team is trained to check the logs before they call me. And the logs might say, I don't have a database connection. Because you had configured one on your side. You sent it to them, and they forgot to read your documentation. You know what I mean? So they were like, oh, let the app here, run it. Just crazy, but they did, and now they're like, this is not working. Or they ran it, it worked fine, but the database went down. When it went down, it doesn't actually mean the database died. It may have lost connectivity. And so it lost connectivity. The app can't produce information to the database, and you wrote it smart. You said, if I can't see the database, it will make sense me living. Kill this application. Yeah? Now, some apps have that. Let's imagine this is the app is running on a drone underwater. And it can't write to the database. So the drone just travel off into the Gulf of Paris and never work again. So maybe that doesn't work. Right? So different contexts will have different fallback things. You'll discover that. Not everything needs to be on your chest today. You know what I mean? But the point is, because you created logs, you allowed someone else to peer into the application's behavior without you being there. That's telemetry. Very brief. Yes? Now, that doesn't just apply to what I'm telling you. Some people build whole websites and they have no logs at all. The thing just working. You know what I mean? Or the logs are written for them, which is the other thing. A developer writing logs sometimes is the worst thing ever. Because he knows what the logs mean. For example, I have written logs that just say, I am working. What? What do you mean you're working? Well, I knew because I put it there. It meant to say, I knew at this point, if you see I'm working, the thing I wanted to say was saying it. but nobody else on the planet could know what that meant. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of discipline to what you're trying to communicate as telemetry. So my captain's log is saying we updated our telemetry to make it easier to understand what's going on. But we went further. You wrote the app. The app works. Remember what I said before? Cybersecurity for me is not just protecting from breaches. It's making sure the application is stable and works well. Yes? It doesn't, because a key component in a corporate context of cybersecurity is risk mitigation, risk management. If you produce an application that works halfway or is not tested properly, do you increase or decrease risk for your organization? You increase the risk, right? And nobody wants that. They're not paying you for that, right? So then, how do you make sure your application is working under the conditions you agree to? You write tests. Now mind you, when I say write tests, you guys may be thinking, I write these test plans and I give it to my friend. You know you guys like groups? And I give a group of 5 and well, I usually test in the group. And so the tester will do, you guys reach there yet? You have that kind of lingo yet? I is the tester, I will do the presentation, you guys not there yet? It will come. Look out for it. And then unfortunately sometimes you have I is the ideas man. Look out for that one. If you find one of those, find a way to just, you go so. You know what I mean? You go so. Right? I is the tester. Say write in this test script. And so then he says, press a button, it will. Press a button, it will. It's not a soaker, automated test. When I say write test, you've actually written code to exercise your code. Make sense? I'm saying this like this because I suspect it may be the first time you've heard they could do that. Is that true? And anybody never had this notion of automated test before? Test automation? You've not heard about that before? I want to make sure it's landing in somebody's pocket. So all of us have done test automation. We've written tests before. And we have good test coverage. Alright, that's alright. I love that, and we're in here too. It's quality, good stuff, Daniel. I like that. It's very cool. So, come back to discipline. The discipline is that you always do that. You know what I mean? You might know what it is. You're writing the test, you have like 10% test coverage. What is that? You know what I mean? And a key part of, unfortunately for us, modern software, a lot of modern software, I'm being recorded saying this, a lot of modern software is what you get away with, unfortunately. So if you're building a supermarket system, right? One of those checkout systems, you are the main developer. No one else is right. No one else is there to look at your work. Who will know if you will automate a test? Only you. That's what I mean, it's what you get away with. So you bring this to the grocery, it works under many conditions, except the time the grocery hires 2 employees with the same first and last name. And then, doesn't work. Because that's how you do the authentication system. You know what I mean? And you didn't write any tests that make sure that if you have duplicates, you're good to go. Now that's kind of okay, you know, in the sense that you can't cover everything. But some things are kind of basic. You know what I mean? And you, the lone developer, stepping out into the world, or you, the developer team, you have a lot of power. And what discipline does is it helps you regulate that power to make sure you build more and more reliable systems. Yes? Right. So that's one captain's law. Not just OWASP or policies, it's design decisions, practices, trade-offs. Oh, I love this. I was trying to remember why I wrote that. Same thing on testing, right? Sometimes we say we do the thing just to get you get through. Do you have tests? Yes, sir. Notice when we all said, yeah, we know what tests is, then ask the coverage, and I get kind of, yeah, but it's 80%. And guess what? You can get to production with V1 with something high, like 90% test coverage, right? High. But then they start to add more features to the applications, as we all do, as we must really. But you never modify the test. So your test coverage is going down and down and down. Or your test coverage actually remains very high, but your tests are irrelevant. So your tests do no longer pass. You know what I mean? So you had 90% coverage before, but the test actually failing. There's nobody checking that. Thing running in production. You know what I mean? I hope you kind of both, if I were you, thank you very much. If I were you, I'd be kind of mortified people do that, but also know you yourself doing it. So, it's like, you catching up. And why can I say it so confidently? Because that's me, I was doing the same thing for many years. Shucks, I didn't write enough tests. But it's working though, so let's keep going. Unfortunately, I kind of found myself in the land of the good. And one of the ways we started to talk about that more deliberately, we didn't, so I mentioned the SSTF before from NIST, right? The Secure Self-Development Framework. Please don't hear me saying, oh, my teams have this down pat and perfect. We weren't talking this language prior to this year when we started to kind of roll it out. So we had testing before, where you're always looking to improve your stance, right? And when we were bringing out Anansi, you guys know what Anansi is, right? It's the national AI. Anybody here never use Anansi? Wow, I like the faces up. You didn't know what Anansi is. Let me step back a little bit. Do we know what Anansi is? Anybody doesn't know what Anansi is? Let me step back some more. Let's go cultural. We know Anansi in folklore, right? Everybody here knows Anansi in folklore. Let's roll it forward a little bit. This year, iGovTT launched Anansi, the National Digital AI Assistant. Everybody here knows that? Who doesn't know that? Oh my God, so many of you don't know that? Recording note, they don't know. So to be clear, we launched this digital assistant. It's a combination of AI, so think chatbots, and HI, human intelligence. So what that actually means is, you could go to anansi.tt. I did not come here to advertise Anansi, to be clear. But you can go to anansi.tt. And I know why you guys don't know. When last you guys had to renew your driver's license? Do you actually have your driver's license? Last year, right? When last you had to get your passport? There you go, there you go. When last you had to pay taxes? Exactly. So Anansi is this agent to help you understand how to interact with a number of public services. You guys kind of young. Here's one that you might have asked. When last you had to check up on your gate status? Anybody here have to check gate status at all? Just the other day, right? You could ask Anansi about gate. It may not be super helpful just yet, but you can. But in your mind, you don't need that. You know who to call. You go to the office to get you, you know what I mean? But for people who work in anything in the country, and they need to work in the government, they're kind of happy to have a thing like Anansi. Because you can talk to the natural language, things like ChatGPT. You can ask about government ministries. And if it's not helpful, there's a little transfer button you can press, and it'll take you to a human. To be clear, not on Saturdays and Sundays. Right? People had to sleep, aren't they? People had to sleep. Right? But for the most part, that's what it does. And Anansi is a critical layer in our national service delivery. Meaning, we release Anansi to the nation. So when you're doing things at that level of that scope, you have a number of gates you have to go through. So in that conversation, that's when we reached out to TTC SID. We're like, hey, we're launching this new thing. Please test it. And then after they tested it, they came back with really meaningful guidance around, hey, but you're exposing too much information about yourself. Then we went further. We had internal test teams asking the kinds of questions that slightly malicious, malevolent, worthless people has asked. Right? Because that's what they do. They do the ChatGPT, they do the Gemini, and they will do it with Anansi. In fact, I can tell you they do it with Anansi. So we had to make sure we didn't just, as a good example of that security theater, you do not want to be performers on the stage of security. Right? You don't want to be like, oh, we call TTC CERT. TTC CERT never hear about testing LLMs before. TTC CERT test this thing. They test what they know. No one does a deeper check. And you know what? We check TTC CERT. We're not in the business of doing that. We're not just checkboxing cybersecurity. We're actually asking, hey, this thing is new. What new tests do we need to produce? Does that make sense? So that's what that security theater is. We're not trying to just be those who perform performative in the wood. Make sense? I want to talk about ChatGPT here, but I won't. Right. So we operate in the context of Scrum. You guys know about Scrum at all? It's one of those methodologies for building software. It's an agile software development methodology. You guys know what agile? Alright. Because again, it's okay new. Organizations typically need some predictable way of trying to realize software. That's it, realize software. That's a horrible term. Maybe realize software. But it didn't exist before, and look, I realized it. How do you get there? By some deliberate process. You can use manufacturing type things like Kanban. You can use something called extreme programming. Oftentimes when you guys are introduced to that, and maybe the year 3 with software engineering, the course, you might find someone talking about waterfall and whatever else. The point is, a typical team is working for a while has some set of approaches that go from idea to implementation, right? And for us it's Scrum, and that's where the sprint comes from. So a sprint is like a 2-week or 3-week time where we build out a few features for an application, right? And so I like this idea that our sprints typically have 2 broad sets of users. The person to get value from it, and the bandit. There are many more stakeholders involved, but you want to ask yourself, for this new feature I'm releasing, can we put ourselves in a place of compromise? And sometimes it's not too much about the feature, it's about the landscape around you. Have there been package updates? Because some package has been found to be vulnerable. Some library now is in a bad state, you need to update it. So every sprint you're kind of asking these questions. And it's not, to be fair, that's not just my software development team. IEEE has a security and operations unit. So what they're often doing is they're scanning the environment. They're looking out, they actually have vulnerabilities to some package, you need to update. Beyond that, when we do updates, they are involved, they are aware of the new packages we're using, the new frameworks we're using. So it's a very strong interaction between us and the security team. Make sense? So I think I have a log on that too. God, I can't tell you this full story. I can't tell you the full story with this particular story, but it's really juicy. You guys know what SSL is? If you go to a website, it's a little lock piece in a browser. That's typically because the website is using a secure mechanism for communicating between you and the browser. Yes? So just think of SSL as website security. Yes? For communication purposes. So I notice none of you prepared for communications a while ago. Fire for all of you, okay? Communications is very important. Right? Very important. But anyway, so SSL plays many roles in terms of software development. One of which is most sites are kind of required presenting SSL in production. We roll out a site, and one day it was fine. The day before publication, the day before launch, the site is working fine. All the tests have been run, the tests are passing. The next day, launch day, the site is still working fine until 4 p.m. When you check the site again, it's not working. We then spent 3 hours to realize the cert had expired. This is not a thing that's in anybody's log. You know what I mean? This is not anybody's checklist, check for the cert. It's such a normal, boring kind of a thing. Did you register a new cert for the site? Now mind you, how did we find it? Well, let me see if you guys are paying attention to that key thing I said. How do you think we found this? Mike, you shouldn't answer. Gosh, Mike. Because the answer is not the log of the schools. Upper letters. We did not have the logs. We had to go write more logs to tell us what's going on. So it was by the log, but not at first. In other words, we found nothing, we found non-work. And then we literally, in every part of the system, we added more logs. Oh, we're getting, it was a kind of an I am working system 1. I'm working system 2. And along that, you're adding more things. I'm working system 3. Nothing from system 4. Wait, why is it not saying anything? More logs. Oh shucks, it can't communicate. Why can't communicate? Nothing. Because the idea to write the log about the certificate being expired is not necessarily the thing you would write. But this forced us to do it. And now, of course, we didn't just fix that certificate, because that's one aspect of this, of resilience. It's not just you found an issue, you fix the issue, and you're done. It's you found the issue, you fix the issue. What can we do to reduce the likelihood that this happens again? Well, for example, you take all your certs, you put it in a calendar in Microsoft Outlook for a month before expiry, and you renew at that point. Make sense? So that's the practice, it's the discipline, it's the realization, all coming together to help you have a more refined posture. Make sense? So keep going, we're almost done. I know we've been going for a long time. This one is kind of easy. It's funny. I mentioned the two teams already. My team, my department, and the cybersecurity department. Another department we work with is the operations department. So how all orgs does it, and many orgs as well, the guys writing the code shouldn't be the guys who sit down in production monitoring the code. For a few reasons. The key one is, the guy writing the code tends to be one kind of mindset. He's creative, he's artistic, he's amazing, he's intelligent. You know what I mean? Am I describing me? Yes. But also, he's sometimes a little bit lazy. He is quickly bored, and he doesn't like routine. So you have another team who is intelligent and amazing, but less prone to being pulled away by boredom. They will do the boring thing. They will make sure your system is working. They will ask hard questions about your system and not let your system go into production if you don't pass certain gates. Make sense? That's another team. So it's this idea of resilience is not me alone. It's not my unit alone. It's the security unit on one side who is actively scanning the horizon, and it's the operations team who is making sure we have healthy practices. Make sense? That kind of choir of voices is what leads to resilience. I know maybe a lot of us come from a place where you was the brightest. You was the brightest in class, in school. You get the scholarship, you. And therefore, you could do it alone. Not in a software context. You could be as bright as the brightest, and I don't want to call any names, like Elon or Zuckerberg. I don't want to call them names. You could be as bright as them, it is not enough. You must have a solid team. Yes? And I don't mean the group you're doing work with. That's not a solid team, because that's sometimes random. You might get ideas, man. You know what I mean? The scourge of us all, you might get one of that. In fact, you have the group work, but one of the things I'd actually advise is you try to build your team while you're here. Try to find the people who you like to work with here. And do cool things. You know what I mean? Build the app that they keep saying you need to get. And let it not be a food delivery app on campus. Stop that. We have enough for that. Not that. Not in basic. Yeah, I know it's basic, but every year some student says we should build a food delivery app. Not that. Maybe the app to help us know when the trees need to be changed or some kind of weird biological thing. I don't know. I have a tree problem at home, so that is probably part of what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, in fact, I'll tell you what it is. There's this tree growing on literally the boundary of my house. I thought it was a cool tree. I was like, look at this cool tall tree. Some dude came by, that tree is poisonous, you need to get rid of it. I didn't know that. And there's no way I would necessarily know, because I am a software developer, I don't know about trees. But if you guys wrote the app, I just take a photo and you tell me, yo, get rid of that tree is not for you, that tree is put deep in the forest. You know what I mean? Yeah, so you can do it. So, we work together. What's this one? We talk about teams already, collaboration is important. Pipeline, I want to end a little bit on pipeline. You saw CICD before. You guys know what CICD is? Mike, do you know? Yeah. Very good. Very good. CICD. Mike, what is it?
Continuous integration, continuous delivery.
Yes. So we have this stance, but not quite there. It's kind of hard to achieve with small, very small teams with plenty of things going on. But it's the idea that you guys know what source control is. You guys know what GitHub is. You know what Git is. I like you guys know the app, but not the thing that describes it. Because that's what it is. It's a place to take care of your source code, right? So a lot of us, thankfully, when we meet code, we meet the source control one time, because our lecturers know we don't want to see something with folders in OneDrive that say V1, V2, V final. We've done that kind of thing. Largely because you have source control, you can get branches, things like that, right? But the industry is a few steps further than that. So we do have source control, but then we have automated testing. So when you commit code to a branch, we have tools that can detect the code is committed, pull it down and run tests. And once it passes the test, it may be allowed to merge into main or into master, right? That's continuous integration. But once it merges, so to be clear, we are not doing this yet because this takes a little bit more orchestration. But once it merges, why not just push it out into production, right? That's the continuous deployment. So ideally, systems that go through those steps with very little human intervention actually are much more reliable than systems that have manual pieces. And why is that? It's manual, it's faster, it's more secure, it's more reliable, simply because it allows you to push changes out more quickly, test those changes, and validate the changes make sense. If you have that whole virtuous pipeline, it actually means you can recover from issues very, very quickly. Make sense? So even if a vulnerability is found in production, your ability to go straight to production with a new change or return to a previous version using pipelines like that is critical and important. Make sense? So, engineering resilience. And I think we're kind of done there. I'm going to focus on that bit there. Talk openly, share failures really fast. I'm pretty sure you guys probably do that already. At least here in school, and school is welcome, it's allowed. Tell people when you fail and tell them why you fail and why it was frustrating and my code not working. Except the guy who finishes first. You know that fellows who finish their assignments within a day? Alright, hold on. That's probably all of you because of ChatGPT. You know the guy who doesn't use ChatGPT and still understands the code as if he was ChatGPT? Not that guy. Not that guy. But for the rest of us, even failures with ChatGPT is a great way to tell stories. I love those in particular. I take my assignment, I grab all the text and I drop it in ChatGPT. And it give me the output, and it didn't work at all. That failure story is great. That story is what we look for in interviews. Because we want to hear, one, that you know what ChatGPT is, that you use it, and that you pull it out of its dotishness into a place of value. You know what I mean? But you need to find the failure stories and share them. Hiding the failure stories, I think, is a big problem. I don't think it affects engineering students in particular in that way, like from my recollection. I think you guys have always kind of been like, nah, but me, figure that thing yet. What you do? Real shippiness, and you share shippiness together. I think it's as you move into work, you kind of stop doing that, you feel it's a dangerous thing. But from where I sit, I mean, as I said, failure is a part of the work. And because of that, I've been able to build strong applications, build strong teams, really grow. And I have an example, sort of an example here. One of the applications we roll out something called Verify TT. And part of that willingness to fail and test your failures is to dog food your own solutions, which is a software development. That's just, you make sure you consume what you build. Make sense? So it might quite affect you guys just yet because you're not really building for anything except an assignment. Once you move past that, maybe with your fancy teams where you do cool things, like hackathons, and you guys do hackathons yet? Still? No? Yeah? Alright, one day you will. On vacation. I like that because the work never stops.
I think I love thinking to push those sort of things. And
push more. Yes.
Those things for students.
Okay.
Who's doing this sort of thing, because we're not seeing any internships from a lot of IEEE.
We had internships this summer.
How much you have? Summer.
I don't know. I don't know, but I think it's more than that. So I hear you, and I think we should talk some more about it because we have mechanisms to do
We
that.
need to talk to all these students. I'm a senior member of the IEEE.
Yes.
Professor Punto.
Yes.
Right? And there are many others here.
Okay.
In the audience here. And I think IGovTT need to partner with the university and provide internships for electrical and computer engineering students and also the students in technology.
In computer science, in DCIT.
Yes, yes.
Sure.
Right? Right? I
Yes.
know Dr. Regis here, he's a very good person here in faculty.
Yes, so let's talk about it because I'm
It's
open to it.
important.
I'm open to it.
It's important.
All right. I like that a lot, and I actually forgot about it. I'm glad you brought it up. So as I mentioned, hackathons. So like right now, I'm doing hackathon with my 8-year-old daughter. So to be clear, as much as our partners and our professionals are asking for it, you're not off the hook. You no longer need individual organizations like IGovTT. So to be clear, we need it. I need to know who you are, right? And my experience with Telios CodeJam, with HackTT, with DHub, they gave me insight into who you are, right? So I'm working with developers from those places. So certainly we do need to have that conversation. But you are not off the hook because there are hackathons all the time. So you can't be like, oh, I'm waiting for IGovTT. We could say that and we need to move, right? Because we need to know you. But you, like just go on their post and like what hackathons are going on right now. You know what I mean? Now mind you, right now you're busy. You have courses. You can't focus on that. I get you. But I don't get it. Because some of the best developers I know now, what's his name? He works at Ramps Logistics. Jared Reek. Then he and his brother were students here that were doing electrical. I know them from Telios CodeJam. 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I think the last week or this week, they were shortlisted for something called the International Break Bulk Awards. I know this level of detail because I follow him on LinkedIn. I follow him because he's doing great stuff.
Yes.
His great stuff started while he was in undergrad, not during vacation. I'm not trying to tell you how to spend your time, but I am. Find a hackathon. Yes? Find a team. Find people you like to work with. Not a group of the ideas fellow. People who, if you're going to talk to in SAC still exists?
Yeah.
In SAC or whoever downstairs is whatever you call that. On the craft, there you go. You really playing cards with? Play cards and also build an app. Oh wow, I love that. You put that on a t-shirt. Right, so again? Been there, done that. Akash Hiram wrote several of those. He works at Telios. Fun guy. He started writing those apps when he was in undergrad. Build something else. Make sense? And then Carisha Stewart, who graduated from here. She wrote an app to play cards. Stop writing card apps. Something else. Yes? So anyway, I think I'm done. Parameter and discipline was something that jumped out to me when I was preparing for this. The whole goal is resilience. I'm sorry that text is so small, but it's like foundations. It has to be foundation, but it's meant to emphasize that those two ideas are the foundation of resilience software development. I'm happy to have been here and you can contact me on LinkedIn. Exactly. Cheers. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much.